Hello students, in our last class we saw how the children discussed about the sun and also how they dreamt about it at night. They got up from the dream and they realized that they are still facing the same old situation of rain. Now we are coming to the next part. Towards the end of the page 109, we stopped here, but that was yesterday. We'll start from there. Now the rain was slackening, and the children were crushed in the great thick windows. So slackening means reduce, decrease in quantity. So it was raining heavily. Now it was slackening. The vigor or the power of the rain was coming down. It was slowly turning out into a drizzle-like. And the children were crushed in the great thick windows. Since it's raining outside, the climate is very bad. They should not be exposed to. So they are kept inside the classroom and they are separated with glass windows. So they were pressing their faces onto the glasses and trying to peer out. So it was getting pressed to the glass, thick windows. Where is the teacher? Someone asked, where is the teacher? And somebody else answered, she will be back. Then another person replied, she would better hurry. We will miss it. So they are all waiting for the children. The door has to be opened, only then they can go out. So he asked, where's the teacher? The teacher is not found because they are anxious to see the sun. And somebody said, no, she'll come. No, you should be here or she should be here. The teacher should be here. Otherwise we may miss it because the sun stays only for some time. They turned on themselves like a feverish wheel, all tumbling spokes. Margot stood alone. So that first sentence is important. They turned on themselves like a feverish wheel, all tumbling spokes. So a feverish wheel is that is they were turning against each other and talking. That's the meaning of like a feverish wheel, means they were turning about against one another and moving. You know the spoke in a cycle wheel. There are so many spokes. They are all together, but each one is separate. Each spoke is separate, but they are all connected with the wheel. So these children were all together. They were moving around and tumbling like a tumbling spokes. They were falling down. So they were all together playing. Margot stood alone. She alone did not join the group where they were together. She was standing apart. She was very frail girl who looked as if she had been lost in the rain for years, and the rain had washed out the blue from her eyes, and the red from her mouth, and the yellow from her hair. She was an old photograph dusted from an album, whitened away, and if she spoke at all, her voice would be a ghost. Now she stood separate, staring at the rain and the loud, wet world beyond the huge glass. So this passage is speaking about how Margot was different and the physical features of hers and her attitude. Margot had come from Earth only a few years ago and never got used to being on planet Venus. Okay, so now she is feeling miserable and physically she has become very thin, very frail. Frail means weak, W-E-A-K, weak. and looked as if she had been lost in the rain for years, and the rain had washed out the blue from her eyes. So the blue from her eyes, if somebody's eyes are blue in color, means it speaks about life. Very lively person and very beautiful person. A girl who is having a blue eye means beautiful girl. Germans have, the boys have beautiful eyes, blue eyes. They are very handsome boys. So the blueness had gone from her eyes means she looked less beautiful, less bright now. And the red from her mouth, a mouth which is red means again sign of life, sign of lot of blood flowing in the body. So she had become pale. And the yellow from her hair. So every part of her body had lost its charmness, its brightness. She had become very dull, weak. She was an old photograph dusted from an album, whitened away, and if she spoke at all, her voice would be a ghost. If you have a photograph, a collection of photographs, the photographs are taken long ago, and you want to have a look at it after so many years, and when you open it because of the wetness in the atmosphere, the dampness, so it's very damp, very wet. So all the photos have been spoiled. You are trying to just dust it out, then the whole photo is become shapeless, because when you wiped it, some of the part of the photo, the image goes off and it looks like a ghost. So how a photograph which is already old and wet and lost its shape, Margot looked like that. She was having a ghostly look, the look of a ghost. Now she stood separate, staring at the rain and the loud wet world beyond the huge glass. So she was standing apart, not joining the children who were playing and turning around together. She was standing separately and looking out through the glass into the rainy world. "What are you looking at?" said William. So William asked the antagonist, the villain. He asked, "What are you looking at?" Margot said nothing. She did not reply, kept quiet. "Speak when you are spoken to. When you are asked to speak, speak. Don't keep quiet." That's what William said. He gave her a shove. To shove means to push. I shoved somebody means I pushed somebody. She gave a shove means he gave a push to her. But she did not move. Rather, she let herself be moved only by him and nothing else. So she did not move. She did not respond to him. They edged away from her. They would not look at her. She felt them go away. So when she did not respond and they could not move her, they themselves went away, leaving her alone. And she could hear them going away. They edged away from her. They would not look at her. So, very unfriendly attitude of the students. She felt them go away. And this was because she would play no games with them in the echoing tunnels of the underground city. So this passage is important because it is speaking about the difference between the other children and Margot. Margot was different from others. How and why? She was different from others because she did not join them in all their activities. Already she was different, you know that. All the others were born and brought up there. She had come from the other planet, that is the earth, only 5 years ago. Already she was different. Again, her attitudes were different. Her activities were self-centered. She was keeping herself keeping to herself, not going out to others. So, she would not play any game with them in the echoing tunnels of the underground city. All the games were conducted underground because they could not go out, it was been raining. If they tagged her and ran, she stood blinking after them and did not follow. So it's a game, like you play hide and seek. This is another game where you'll touch somebody and go and hide somewhere. Then that person has to run after them and find out where they are. So they would just tag her, means they'll just touch her, and or they'll just attach some label on her and she has to follow and find out. But she would not join them. She wouldn't move. She stood blinking. She will just stare at and stand. When the class sang songs about happiness and life and games, her lips barely moved. Barely means hardly. So when the children sang about happiness, they sang about life, they spoke about games, she did not join them. She would keep herself apart. She wouldn't join. Only when they sang about the sun and the summer did her lips move as she watched the drenched window. So only when they sang about the sun. So there were rare times the children sang about the sun, about the summer, that's the dry season. That time she was very active and she actively participated in the song, in the discussion. Which means there was only one topic she had interest on. And what is it? The sun. And summer is connected with the sun. Therefore, she was interested in sun and the summer. Because she was fed up with the wet world. The world where there is lot of water. The tidal waves are there, filled with plenty of water, and there is noise. She was fed up with that. She was interested only in the sun. Therefore, whatever they sang of, whatever they spoke of, she did not join them except when they spoke or sang about the sun. And then, of course, the biggest crime of all was that she had come here only 5 years ago from earth. And she remembered the sun and the way the sun was and the sky was when she was 4 in Ohio. So the biggest crime was she came here only 5 years ago. Why it's a crime? Because all the others were born and brought up there. They were like a bunch of children together. Margot alone was different. She had come from Ohio, a place in USA. When she was 4 years old, along with her parents, she came over to planet Venus. They left her there and went away. And they had been on Venus all their lives. They means here the rest of the children. The rest of the children were on planet Venus all their lives. And they had been only 2 years old when last the sun came out and had long since forgotten the color and heat of it and the way it really was. But Margot remembered. So they were born and brought up, and they had seen the sun 7 years ago when they were 2 years old, and they don't even remember how the sun looked like. But Margot remembers very clearly, and she's able to picture it, able to explain it, and they were keeping her away because she knew more than them about the sun. So the children were jealous of her. They were envious of her. They did not like her knowing more than them. It's like a penny, she said once, eyes closed. having her eyes closed. That means there's no need even to open the eyes. Eyes closed. Very clearly she could say, it's like a penny. No, it is not. The children cried. Others reacted saying, no, it cannot be like a penny. Penny means a small coin, like our paisa. It's like a fire, she said, in the stove. You know, when the stove is lit, how the fire looks. It looks beautiful. The flame of the fire in the stove will look like the sun. You are lying. You don't remember, cried the children. Again they reacted saying, no, that is not correct. So whatever she said, they are reacting to it. But she remembered and stood quietly apart from all of them and watched the patterning windows. So she knew exactly how the sun looked, and she kept quiet and stood apart from them, watching the patterning windows. Patterning windows means patterns are designs. It's raining and the water is falling on the glass, and patterns, designs have been formed on the window. So she was looking through the designs and not joining others. And once a month ago, she had refused to shower in the school shower rooms, had clutched her hands to her ears and over her head, screaming, the water mustn't touch her head. So another reason for the difference. All of them took bath and enjoyed. Though it was raining outside, it was very cold, they took bath. But Margot wouldn't shower. Maybe just like some of you. I hear that some of the students do not take bath regularly. They take bath once in 7 days. So Margaret must have been taking bath very rarely, maybe once in a month. And whenever she took a bath, she was crying, yelling, because she was not happy to have a bath. The water mustn't touch her head. That was her argument. So after that, dimly she sensed it. She was different and they knew her difference and kept away. So dimly means slowly she realized that she was different from the rest of the children. And they also knew that she was different and kept her away. There was talk that her father and mother were taking her back to earth next year. It seemed vital to her that they do so. Through it, though it would mean the loss of thousands of dollars to her family. And so the children hated her for all these reasons of big and little consequence. So this is an important point, because every story there is something called a kind of friction. There's a clash, there's a conflict. We call it conflict. Climax will be there will be a conflict, there is a struggle. So the hero is struggling. Here she undergoes two kinds of struggle, that is internal and external. So what is the struggle of hers? The internal struggle is her inability to adjust to the situation on planet Venus. She is not happy with it. So she keeps herself apart. That's the internal struggle. And external struggle is, or the children are keeping her away from them and treating her as differently. So there is a hope. The hope against this conflict. Conflict has to be resolved in the story. So what is the hope? Her parents will one day come back to take her to planet Earth. So it is going to cost them so much money to come and take her back. It will cost so much. But she is not worried about it. She expects their parents to come back and take her. So all her problems will be resolved. So then the author concludes These were the small and bigger reasons. These were the reasons for them treating her as different. These were the things that caused her or made her different from others. They hated her pale snow face, her waiting silence, her thinness, and her possible future. Anything of her they hated. They hated her pale snow face. Pale is a face without blood. Face not having sufficient blood flow. Pale, weak. Her waiting silence. She did not speak but kept quiet. That silence did not like. Her thinness. She was very, very thin, frail. That also did not like. And her possible future. What is the possible future? That she may go back to earth. That also they did not like. So these were the reasons for them to hate her and keep her as someone different. Thank you.